Hi everyone, it's Meghan from Lakeshore. Today we're going to talk about incorporating the Think-Aloud strategy during your learning at home activities and in your daily routine. Let's get started. Do you ever talk to yourself? Do you ever hear children talking to themselves? Well, then you're using the Think-Aloud strategy. A think-aloud is when you say out loud what you're thinking. Children can use this strategy when reading, solving math problems, or answering questions. This encourages children to think things through and helps improve comprehension and problem-solving skills. I explain it to my students this way. It's like having a sneak peek into someone's brain so you can hear what they're thinking. Teachers often think aloud to model for students, and you can too. To help with this, I'm going to share 6 tips on how to model effective think-alouds and give you some examples on how to use each one. Tip number 1, discuss prior knowledge. This is a fancy way of saying think aloud about what you already know. Let's say you're working with your child to solve a simple addition problem, such as 3 plus 2 equals. You can think aloud about what you know by saying, I know when I add, I put 2 groups together. I know the plus sign tells me to add. I know I can draw pictures to help me add. Tip number 2, predict or make an educated guess about what might happen. When making a prediction about your addition problem, 3 plus 2, you might say out loud, I predict the sum is going to be greater than 3. I know this because I'm adding more, so the answer must be bigger. Tip number 3, visualize. This means imagine or paint a picture in your mind and talk about it. Begin to solve your problem by making a group of 3 and a group of 2, using beans or cereal. Then imagine what you will do and describe it. You might say, I can picture putting these groups together to make one big group. Tip number 4, make connections. Relate to the activity by making connections to your own experiences. To model making connections, you might say, oh, 3 plus 2 equals 5. That reminds me of counting the number of forks for the dinner table because we have 5 members in our family. Tip number 5, asking questions. Pose questions about what you would like to know and things that you wonder about. When modeling posing questions, it's great to ask things to get your child thinking. For example, you might ask, if 3 plus 2 equals 5, I wonder what 3 plus 3 equals. And tip number 6, summarize. Once the activity is complete, explain what you did in your own words. For example, you might say, I added 3 plus 2 by taking a group of 3 and a group of 2 and putting them together. Then I counted all the pieces of cereal all together to get 5. Here's a quick recap of the 6 tips for modeling effective think-alouds. Discuss prior knowledge. Predict. Visualize. Make connections. Ask questions. Summarize. You can use think-alouds in your day-to-day routines as well. Model making predictions while watching a movie or reading a book with your child. When you're baking, you can model visualizing taking a bite of a yummy cookie after it gets out of the oven. Or when you're getting ready for the day, ask questions like, what should we wear today? Should we check the weather? One last thing before I go, I wanted to share some helpful, open-ended prompts to get you started thinking aloud. I predict. I think. I can picture. This reminds me of. I wonder. And a question I have is, give it a shot. The more you think aloud, the more your child will join in. I hope these Think Aloud tips were helpful. Happy learning!
Keep watching our Learning at Home videos. Plus, visit lakeshorelearning.com for thousands of free resources.